Oh.
Sometimes I find myself asking, am I the crazy one for wanting to leave, for being ready to leave the United States? Like, am I overreacting?
It's funny that whenever I have a criticism of the United States, the right will be like, oh, well, if you don't like it, you could just leave. Motherfucker, if I had the money, I would have been left.
All right, why I'm leaving America, part 2. So the second reason being, I have just been completely, honestly fed up with America over the last few years. And I feel like, honestly, I've been looking for any reason to leave.
3 months ago, I quit my job, sold all my stuff, and left the United States for good. And if you've been considering this and you needed a sign, this is it. If you're at the job you hate, the city you've outgrown, the relationship that's sucking the life out of you, this is your sign.
My husband and I finally made the difficult decision to leave the United States. It was not an easy decision, and it came from a lot of conversations. But we finally realized we're fighting to stay somewhere that not only is he unwanted, but we're fighting to stay in a place that's just falling apart more and more each day and becoming an unrecognizable place.
I'm moving out of the United States in 4 days. It's kind of emotional and stressful internally because, like, wow, this chapter is ending for me. I've been living here more than 9 years. Hard to believe that, wow, my life is going to be completely different. And I'm super excited to move to East Africa with my husband. No matter if the transition is happy or sad, it's still a lot for us, our body, our mind. So if you're going through something, I just want to give you a reminder, just be nice to yourself, accept all of the emotions that are raising up, and the most important, take care of yourself, your mental health, your physical health.
Get ready with me to quit my job in investment banking and move to Africa.
So, like the psycho I moved to Africa.
Well, have you noticed something interesting here? You see, for years, many white people looked down on Africa, ignored black history, or dismissed the continent as a place with nothing to offer. Like, there's nothing good at all in Africa. But now, we are seeing more and more white Americans say they want to leave America, with some moving to Africa. I mean, one comment really stood out to me. Let's read it. You hate our black history. How come you plan to go to Africa, where we originated from? You guys. Now, I think that's the question worth thinking about. If America is supposed to be the land of opportunity, the land of freedom, why are so many people, these white people, packing their bags and starting over, somewhere else, including Africa? I mean, what exactly is happening here? What do they know about Africa that others, like other white people, don't know yet? Stay with me until the end, because, their reasons may completely change how we think about Africa, how we look at Africa, how we look at black people, how we look at black history. Anyway, let's dive into this. If this is the first time, please subscribe so we can have more of these discussions. I wish you the best, and I'll see you at the end.
My husband came here to study English and to be part of, everything the United States had to offer, which was a better life. The irony. Let me tell you a few things that I'm also forfeiting as a U.S. citizen that our country fights so hard to protect their interest. I am now forced to go live in another country just to preserve my marriage. This comes with leaving my family behind, leaving my law license behind that took me years and years to get. I'm not licensed, obviously, in another country, so I have to find an entirely new profession and start over entirely. Being a disabled veteran, someone who broke their back and both of their hips in the military, I am now forced to forfeit my personalized care plan that I have worked the last decade to develop with my physicians. I have medications that I take on a daily basis, and the VA does not ship them out of the country. This also just means that our kids will not really have a relationship with my family. How did we get to a place where, the destruction, the waterfall of destruction is just so normalized? I can't stress enough how much I'm not trying to make this about me as much as I'm trying to shed light for those who truly don't get it yet, who should care that your fellow citizens are now being forced to leave the country to stay married. That's where we've gotten, and if that's okay with you, what the hell? To stand 10 toes down behind this administration and to support them at the expense of your fellow citizens should cause alarm bells. You should not be able to rationalize that. This is not as simple as some people are making it out to be. You know, this will easily become a channel of watching us start over from scratch. I've got to find a new job in a country where I need to learn how to speak the fluent language and uproot everything I know, just because I fell in love with an immigrant. Stay tuned for our journey and watch me pack up my entire house alone, because I'm also robbed of any help in this process, because my husband will be in ICE detention until the time that they drive him from the facility to the airport. Is America great? I have yet to see it.
Sometimes I find myself asking, am I the crazy one for wanting to leave, for being ready to leave the United States? Like, am I overreacting? Is it really not that bad? Like, I hear other people talking about leaving, but they're not leaving. You know, like, our house goes on the market next week. So it's very real and it's overwhelming. But when I find myself asking myself those questions, like, is it really that bad? And then I remember what other nations are doing and seeing and saying, and what other leaders from around the world are doing and saying and thinking. And I remember it's not just me. Like, I'm not making this up in my head. This is happening. It just seems too crazy to be real, because, like, how is this reality? How did it get this far? Anyway, that helps remind me that, like, I'm not the crazy one, that it really is this bad. And I so look forward to our new life in the Netherlands. But yeah, there's some things I'll miss from here, mostly people. But that's where we are at here in the United States these days. So, whatever.
It's funny that whenever I have a criticism of the United States, the right will be like, oh, well, if you don't like it, you could just leave. Motherfucker, if I had the money, I would have been left. You think I still want to be eating this fake cancer food? Whatever the fuck they're putting in our water? Oh, and God forbid you have something to say about Israel. Because then they might arrest your ass. So fuck yeah, if I had the money, yeah, I would have been gone. Bye. You would never see me here. But no, unfortunately, they rigged the system against us, so people that want to get the fuck out can't.
All right, why I'm leaving America, part 2. So the second reason being, I have just been completely, honestly fed up with America over the last few years. And I feel like, honestly, I've been looking for any reason to leave. And when I finally left America, I feel like that solidified my feelings, as far as I very much consider myself a freedom maximalist. And what I mean by that is, I want to be able to see the world. I want to be able to live wherever, whenever, travel wherever, whenever. And I just don't want to be confined to my hometown and my home country the rest of my life. You know, we live such a short time, on this planet, and it's such a big world, and I want to see the world. I want to explore the world, and you're only going to be young once. And I don't want to be that person that lives in their hometown the rest of their life, works a 9-to-5 job for 40 years. And, by the time you retire at 50, 60 years old, you're too old to travel. Your body's broken. You have no energy, and you have no interest at that point, probably, to even travel. I don't want to live my life around that. Like, I want to live a life based around freedom and adventure. And I just honestly get no motivation and no interest and, like, no passion living here in America. Like, I feel like there's nothing here for me, which is why I want to know what it's like to live in another country, experience other cultures, go from country to country to country. And even though, yes, I'm going to probably go live out in Southeast Asia, it doesn't mean I'm going to live there forever. Like I said, I want to have the freedom to be able to live in a different country every year if I want to. I just want to be able to live a life of freedom and not feel like I'm held down here in America. So I hope that made sense. I don't know if I made any sense there, but yeah, that's reason number 2. And I'll see you tomorrow for part 3.
3 months ago, I quit my job, sold all my stuff, and left the United States for good. And if you've been considering this and you needed a sign, this is it. If you're at the job you hate, the city you've outgrown, the relationship that's sucking the life out of you, this is your sign to make a change. I left the United States with just the money that I saved up and a very little plan. I'm going to tell you how I'm doing it and the most common ways I see other people doing this who are traveling full-time or for extended periods of time. It is such a privilege to be able to travel, and I feel very lucky and grateful that I'm even able to do this. I posted a TikTok about encouraging people to get up and travel, and I got a lot of hate comments about it. People saying, oh, she must be rich, she must have a trust fund, she must have a remote job, her parents must be rich. I'm 28 years old. No one is funding this trip besides myself. I'm not rich. I don't have rich parents. I don't even have a stream of income right now. It just takes planning and honestly realizing that this is way more sustainable and economical than you think it is. Once you leave the toxic relationship that is the United States, you realize how possible it actually is and how low the cost of living is in other places in the world. So let's get into it. What I did after having a mild crash out is basically just saving up enough money so that I was able to travel for about 6 months without having any stream of income. I saved around $15K for 6 months of travel. I'm 3 months in and I've spent way less than half of that. There are so many places in the world in Southeast Asia and Central and South America that it's very cheap to travel in. I'm not traveling like a tourist. I'm not staying in fancy hotels or Airbnbs. I'm not going on different trips and excursions every weekend. I'm doing homestays with people that I've met here, like literally flying to a place without accommodation, walking around and finding cheaper homestays. I'm eating at local restaurants. Oftentimes I'll try and find a homestay that has a kitchen so I can cook my own food. I'm also staying at least a month in one place at a time, so I'm not moving around a ton. I'm a yoga teacher, so I'm also doing some work exchanges where I teach yoga in exchange for free accommodation and food. And that's the second most common thing I see people doing is programs like World Packers, Workaway, or other work trade programs. These programs aren't paying you, but it reduces your cost of living significantly because they'll cover your accommodation and your food in exchange for working a few hours a day or a few hours a week. It's a really cool option, especially if you're interested in really immersing yourself in a culture, staying with a host family. Other thing that I see a lot of people doing is working holiday visas. Specifically, Australia and New Zealand offer working holiday visas if you're under the age of 30 and 35 for New Zealand, I believe. Basically, they pay you to come live in Australia and New Zealand and work for a certain period of time and in certain fields. Usually it's agricultural jobs, but you can find jobs in different categories based on how hard you're looking. The option to extend these visas as well. I've also seen people who are traveling long term who end up getting sponsored by a company in the country they're staying in to have a work visa. I saw some people in Sri Lanka doing this where they'd been living there and then got a job at a cafe and the cafe sponsored their work visa. The other common thing I see people doing is if you have a certain skill or trade. So if you're a tattoo artist, if you're a yoga instructor, something of the sort, you can travel to different places and then work your trade or your skill in those countries. I see a lot of people traveling who do seasonal work as well. So maybe they spend 6 months of the year working at a ski resort, saving up all their money, and then for the other 6 months of the year, they're traveling. Seasonal jobs could be working in the hospitality or service industry, could be working in wildlife, could be working any like adventure sport, or just in a certain place during their busy season. The last thing, which I see the least common, is people who have remote jobs that are getting paid an American or EU salary and then living in a different country and traveling. Yes, people do this, and this is probably the most financially lucrative way to do this. I just haven't seen it as much, and you still are working like 8 hours a day, so it changes the way that you're living and traveling quite significantly. I don't have all the answers for how I'm gonna make this full-time sustainable, but I'm figuring it out, and I'm taking you guys with me. I'm a yoga teacher, so I'm hoping to host some retreats, and I have 2 planned this year. I've made 0 money off of them, but hopefully that will be a business that in the future will allow me to travel full-time. It is possible. So many people do it. You can do it. If your only fear is the fear of leaving and the financial fear, then you can do this. Sure, it takes some financial planning and the ability to travel in a certain frugal way to make it sustainable, but I believe in you.
You want to leave the U.S. I get that. Totally. Regardless of the reasons why you want to go. You want good health care to, you don't really want to worry about getting shot to death at the supermarket. Okay. The reason why you want to go doesn't matter, right? If you're going to go, you're planning it well. You're thinking about all the questions. Make a list. So let's not even worry about how you're getting into the country or even which country you're going to. You need to do a self-assessment. How much money do you have on hand? How do you like to live? Do you like cold, blustery weather? Do you like snow and mountains? Do you like beach? Do you like, to have access to both? Do you want to have good health care? Do you want to know that you could maybe retire there? If your children are young enough and you move to Europe, well, then guess what? Their college education is free. You want to leave the U.S., totally get it. And the other important thing I want to tell you is you don't need permission to do this. When you really want to do it, write down your list of questions. Get all the answers you need to get from reliable sources, okay? Not Reddit chat groups. Get information, have some consultations, and make a plan. Everybody else is on a need-to-know basis. That's how we handled our move. Whatever your reason is, you don't need a good one for everybody else. Do it with intelligence, get your questions answered, and just know that you have one life to live. Live it big, live it bold. Look back and have no regrets. Cheers.
Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Now, let's talk about it. Before we really break down this video in detail, I think there's one thing that we can't ignore. For years, Africa has been looked down upon, has been mocked, has been misunderstood by many people around the world, especially white people. Actually, white people, they made people to look at Africa as, there's nothing to offer in Africa. It's just like a forest. We have all heard the stereotypes. People acting like Africa is one country. It's just one village, like a place where there's nothing to offer. Like you can't find an airplane, like you can't find a car in Africa. Yet today, we are hearing people talk about starting a new life. While not everyone is trying to move to Africa, but, many people are saying that now they are considering Africa. And others, of course, are going to other countries. But here's the thing. They are all having same reasons for leaving America. So what exactly does that, mean that Africa is now the best? Does that mean that America is now the West? What exactly is happening? If a place like this America, this Africa, was supposedly so backward, so primitive, why is it suddenly becoming an option for, these white people looking for better future? They are living American dream. Now they want to join African dream. That's the question we really need to be asking ourselves. Now, after listening to everyone who shared their reasons, the advices, the reasons for leaving Africa, some already left. They're just explaining why, they left, America, and now they're in Africa. Before we get into the reasons, I noticed something that most of their reasons almost are in a few categories, like they're in major categories. Now, let's talk about it. The first reason is disappointment. Now, let's talk about it. You see, many of the people we heard in this video simply don't believe the United States is the same country they once believed it was, okay? They believed it was something else, but it's not actually what it is becoming. Some people talked about, feeling emotionally exhausted. Others said they no longer recognize the America they grew up believing in. So yeah, whether somebody agrees with them or you don't agree with them, but I think that's clearly how they feel. Like, that's the reason to leave America. They expected the American dream to be reality one day. But, the more the days, the more it turns out to be, it's unrealistic. Okay, many people now believe that the dream has become much harder to reach. Like, the more the days pass, the more harder it becomes, to reach. And the second reason is the search for a better quality of life. Now, let's talk about it. Now, in the video, several speakers mentioned the things like, healthcare, education, lower living costs, and simply, wanting a less stressful way of living. Now, one person even explained how, some countries make, raising children easier, while another described, living abroad for much less money they expected. And this is true. This is true. When you come to Africa, $500, that can be too much to sustain you, okay? $500, that can be too much to sustain you for the whole month. You can just go for groceries with just $100 or this US dollar, okay? So I just want to agree with them that, life is a bit easier in Africa. It's about angle you take it, okay? But when it comes to cost of living, it cannot be compared to America. That is true. And again, these are their personal experiences, but it's interesting, like how similar many of their stories sound. Like they all look at how cost of living is affecting them. Now, the third reason is freedom. Now, let's talk about it. It has always been considered that America is the land of the free. What happened to it? They are seeking freedom. I mean, I don't just mean political freedom. I mean the freedom to explore the world, experience different cultures, and not feel tied to one, place for an entire lifetime. Now, in the video, one speaker said they didn't want to spend 40 years working, only to be, too old to enjoy life when retirement finally arrives. Okay, for them, living America wasn't just about escaping America. No, it wasn't just about that. It was about chasing experiences they felt they were missing. Now, you are missing experiences to Africa, the land which is mostly considered as it's just a forest, it's just a village where you can't find a car, where you can't find just look at that. So it's so interesting that, finally, Africa can now be the option for these people. Not because it's a last resort, no, but people are waking up to reality that, no, Africa is the continent. By the way, Africa is the biggest continent. Remember, America, not America as the United States, but America continent can go into Africa almost 3 times. Do your research. So it's the biggest continent, but, white people in the past made it to look like it's so small. It's just a country. It's not a country. It has 50-something countries. So it has everything it can offer. And the fourth reason is the family and personal relationships. Let's talk about it. Okay, one of the strongest, stories came from a woman who explained that living wasn't even really her first choice. She describes like giving up her career, leaving her relative behind, learning a new language and starting over simply because she wanted to stay with the person she loves. Okay, so that's also an interesting part. And that's a reminder that behind these decisions, there are little families, there are little sacrifices, there are, little challenges, little life experiences and little emotions behind, people making these decisions. And finally, instead of giving another reason, the last speaker offered some sort of, something different. Advice. He's giving an advice. Now, his message is simple. Don't make a life-changing decision based on emotions, okay? Don't rush to make that because it's life-changing. You may go to Africa and stay there. But the moment you think, I think I have to go back, maybe due to weather, those are things to consider, maybe due to weather, not anything else. You find out going to America may be a little bit harder. You don't know. So he's advising that, research carefully. Understand the country that you are moving to. Learn about healthcare, jobs, immigration law, education, and the little cost of living. Okay, you need to make some searches. But honestly, the cost of living in Africa cannot be compared to the cost of living in America, to be honest. Because as we hear people say they can't manage to sustain their life with the $2,000 a month, you'd be like, what? In Africa, that's too much. You can have the same you can buy the same things you love in the grocery stores. We have supermarkets. You can buy the same, pretty much the same, but almost 10 times cheaper. Okay, 10 times cheaper. So that's something like an advice from that person. And I'm not trying to invite somebody to come to Africa by trying to make it. No, I'm just trying to add some, real life example, because I'm an African, and that's the thing, that you make plan, don't just follow social media trends that I'm also living. And at the end of the day, every person has to decide what's best for themselves and their family. You can choose to stay in America, to stay wherever else. Okay, but one thing in this video clearly shows that more people are openly questioning whether the American dream still feels like the dream it once promised it will be. And maybe that's the biggest conversation of all. And these conversations also help us to rethink how we look at Africa as a continent. Okay, how our parents deceived us about how we should look at Africa. Okay, it's now marketable. People can now look at it and join its dream. Okay, so I love that you came to watch the video. Don't forget to share your views. Don't forget to share your perspective. Otherwise, I'll see you next time, and I'm proud of you.